Start recording.
End the podcast. Close this out.
Close the window. Go eat some chips.
Put on some stuff they don't want you to know.
In the first Aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second Aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third Aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth Aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth Aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the god before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new Aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome, everyone. I am Serious Miscalculation Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magic News, the objectively best occult podcast on the internet today. Joining me, straight from the 8th Tower, is my super spectral co-host, John Off Kilter. How are you doing, Kilter?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. In fact, I'm really good, because today, after quite some time, we have another returning guest. We have Dee, everyone.
Howdy, Cowpoke.
Yay! Dee.
It has been far too long. We should have had you on again sooner, but we're happy to have you here now.
Thanks for having me back.
What do we got on the show today, Kennedy?
Yeah, it's good timing, because last time we had you on, we got to talk about fail sons of the Republican Party, and we're going to get to do a bit of that too today, so it'll be a fun time. But to start out, I just wanted to talk about some spooky stuff happening to me and maybe bring that into a greater discussion on an occult phenomena. So I'll start with co-host Dee. Do you two know what an apport is?
Yes.
Only because you told me the definition before we started recording.
In all fairness, it's actually a term that I'd seen, but I didn't quite know what it meant until a friend of the show, Benny, had started talking about it a lot. And then I was like, all right, I should look this up. And it's not a big thing. It's just a term for something that everyone kind of gets. An apport is a paranormal transference of an object from one place to another, or a appearance of an object from a unknown location or source that is typically associated with paranormal phenomena.
Give us some examples.
Well, this was very big in like the spiritualist movement, so seances and stuff like that. And it's exactly what you would think. It's, oh, hey, I'm doing a spooky thing, and then suddenly, oh, look, hey, here's like my granddad's watch, or hey, here's just like some rocks, or just random things, flowers, oranges,
Ectoplasm.
That's what I was going to ask. Is the ectoplasm part of this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's associated with it.
I know that there's one of the many tricks of the table knockers were things like you would essentially swallow something beforehand, and you would force yourself to like spew it back up, and it would have all your bile and stuff on it, so it would look all spectrally. It's like, oh, look at the ectoplasm. It's like, that's just your throw up, bro. It's amazing what people would go in for on those days.
They still are going in for it, man. Same shit, still tricking us.
We got in the wrong line of work.
100%.
I can't throw up on the I can throw up on the podcast. It's just normally it gets edited out.
Well, it's also an audio only podcast, so we could just tell them we did it.
And then the lapping noises of me licking it back up.
Oh no, listeners, I've had a small dog appear in the room with me now suddenly. Oh no, this is an apport. Just to talk the fraudulent side of it real quick, because I have access to the world's most reliable source of information, Wikipedia.
TikTok? Oh,
close.
That was my second guess.
I just have to talk about this because I pulled up the Wikipedia just to see if there was anything interesting to talk about from there, and it's very heavy on the fact that this is just fraud.
You have a vested interest, I imagine, of saying, hey, if people are making shit up, we don't want to just be like, oh, and then a bunch of oranges showed up, and oh man, look, he started juggling.
So just a couple of the people they're talking about. Famous apport fraud is attributed to Charles Bailey. During a seance, Bailey produced 2 live birds seemingly out of thin air, but was undone when the dealer who sold him the birds appeared in the crowd. How fucked up is that when you're like, oh, look, 2 birds have appeared, and they're like, hey, those are mine.
Well, that's when you hit them with them. Well, I left them at home, so...
In 1902 in Berlin, police officers interrupted a seance of the apport medium Frau Anna Ruth. Her hands were grabbed and she was wrestled to the ground. A female police assistant physically examined Ruth and discovered 157 flowers as well as oranges and lemons hidden in her petticoat. She was arrested and charged with fraud.
Oh man, I'm just thinking, like, back in the day, right? I didn't hear the date that this happened, but
1902.
1902. Okay, yeah, that's still very much like big dresses period. You can hide all kinds of stuff.
I just love the idea. You're like, look, those flowers, yeah, sure, maybe that was fraud, but those oranges and lemons, those were my lunch.
You can't fake a lemon, all right? That's all I'm going to say. You cannot fake a lemon. That had to have been magic. I'm just imagining like somebody with the David Byrne Stop Making Sense suit.
In the middle of the seance.
Hiding everything in the shoulders.
People just come running out of his coat.
Last one. Heinrich Melzer was exposed as a fraud when he was caught in the seance room with small stones attached to the back of his ears by flesh-colored tape. That just feels like an awful lot of effort to go through for like a rock. You know what I mean?
If you're convincing people that you have magic powers, like, not even the bullshit that we do on this show to talk about the magic powers that you have. We're talking like you want to convince somebody you can make something materialize out of the spirit realm. I mean, what links would you go to? Uri Geller just figured out how to bend a spoon.
Yeah, and then so did James Randi after. Allegedly, some female mediums went so far as to conceal objects in their vaginas or anus with gauzy fabric, which would then become the ectoplasm.
That's exactly brother.
That was one of the things I was talking about. Yeah. Also they'd swallow stuff and vomit it back up, and which that's got to take some control, if I'm honest. You got to like imagine you're in the middle of it. It's like, no, I haven't gotten to the spirit words yet. Oh God, it's coming.
Sounds like something Nancy Reagan would have been good at.
Well, she was the throat goat. She probably wouldn't have had to worry about it at all.
No, but she was a
could
drunk.
Have been throwing up all kinds of things.
But she was a lush. That was the problem, right? Wouldn't she just be throwing up constantly? Oh, there it is. Nancy's at it again.
Behold, I have an apport.
I think you drank a couple too many apports, Nancy. You need to relax. Drink some water. No, but it makes me think of there was I don't have the dates with me, but there was this woman that was supposedly giving birth to like rabbits, and namely dead rabbits and like parts of their body and stuff like that. And they were like, oh man, this is like not miraculous isn't the word because it's kind of horrifying, but the church investigated and they found out, oh no, she's just shoving stuff up her snatch. But enough people were like, no, there's something real here.
That makes me think of that maggot lady.
Oh God. I forgot about that.
Internet deep cuts.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You're welcome.
Now, it is one of those things that there's always weird links people will go to convince the schmucks of supernatural influence, I suppose. But if we were going to talk about this in a more, maybe not serious, but in a less obviously bullshitty way, what are we looking at?
Well, I'll just share with you what has happened to me over the last month or so. This is not convincing. This does not involve ectoplasm.
Boo.
I know. I'm a disappointment to the show. I should have found some ectoplasm if I wanted to talk about this. Well, I mean, I'm a disappointment to my parents for other reasons.
For the podcast.
Yeah, mostly. As people in the Discord may or may not know, I've kind of gone in on, again, friend of the show who's end up related to this, unfortunately, Benny's sort of seal method. It's kind of something I arrived at independently, and then he gave me a word for it. He's like, yeah, I've been doing that. I was like, oh, hey, I've been doing that. Editing Bay Kennedy here. I'm going to explain the seal method because I kind of glaze over it in a way here that I find detrimental. If I'm going to tell you about the tech, I might as well explain it properly. The way you create a seal is you come up with its purpose, its intent, what have you, and then create intuitively a piece that is singular, cohesive, possibly built out of other symbols that are resonant with you, symbols that exist previously, or symbols that you only create intuitively to attack this purpose, problem, so on, from multiple angles. This is distinguished from a shoal in that a shoal is created by the usual sigil creation method where you have a statement of intent and you obfuscate it into some sort of symbolic representation, and then you combine those into one symbol or one super sigil, if you will. This is actually creating a coherent, full piece with different aspects relevant to the various things you want to happen, but all with the aim of one purpose. Also, again, not created in the way of obfuscating a specific intent or like a sentence or an idea within a symbol. Personally, I think that you can think of them as works of art to express an idea or an intention magically. It's interesting stuff. Obviously, people do create sigils intuitively. They don't use statements of intent. They'll instead intuitively create them. But that combined with the fact that it is a multi-angled piece, the fact that you can combine them with pre-existing symbols, if you like, and the fact that it is not meant to be a obfuscation of an intent to get behind a psychic sensor or something. And of course, the idea that I mentioned very briefly after this interlude, the act of creation of a seal itself is the work. It is the thing that makes them work. It's the interfacing with whatever magical bugaboo you want to put here. That is the process of creating a seal. That's supposed to make it work. All of these different aspects are things that get touched on in contemporary sigil methods, but I think as a totality of them, it's enough to warrant being a different hack, as it were. Okay, that's enough of that. The only real tech difference I can come up with is that making a seal is the thing in itself, right? And I think there's plenty of people that make sigils and then like don't do anything, don't charge them, don't release them in the classic chaos magic spare method of it, right? Like that's not an unheard of phenomena. People just make sigils and then sometimes they work. But I had a day where I just made about, I think like 4 of them using the sort of particular method that I've developed for it. And, nothing crazy, right? I just kind of make them and I go about my day. And at some point, they all disappear. They're all just gone. I have no clue for the life of me where the hell I put all of these. I could not for the life of me find these things. The interesting part of this is that like I said, I think I made 4. I'd have to go look at my record to find the exact number. I'm pretty sure it was 4. They all worked about same day. And none of them were like, hey, get me $1 million in a blowjob. They were all things that could happen, but they all worked. And the next day, they all just sort of reappeared on my coffee table. And again, not super convincing to anybody. Maybe I just got a dirty ass coffee table and I couldn't find them, but they weren't there. Last I remembered them, they were all in my pockets. And then they were just all sitting on my coffee table.
After having worked.
Oh, yeah, after having worked. Specifically, that's the point, is that they all work, and then they're gone, and then they're there. So I don't think anything of this. I think that's kind of a weird incident, but I don't get too caught up on these sorts of things, mostly because I care about magic that works, and then if the idea is that reproducing this would involve me making them disappear, I can't do that. That's wild. I can't make shit disappear and then reappear.
It's like peeing your pants on purpose.
No, because you can definitely pee your pants on purpose. You can just do it. There's no rule against it.
Okay, yeah, you know what? Fair.
Anyway, a day ago, I did another one just for, another thing, just another reasonable thing that could happen. Guess what happened?
So the seal goblins got it again.
Yes, the seal goblins got it again. I remember this one. I remember far more specifically because it's so close. I was at work when I made it. I put it in my pocket and I went about my day. But I remember at some point going through my pockets, like to rearrange all my stuff looking for it. And it was gone. And I thought, oh shit, I must have not actually put it in my pocket. I must have thrown it on my desk and thrown it away while I was tossing papers or whatever, cleaning up my area. So I just think, oh, well, that shit's gone. Okay. It works. And again, not convincing to any of the listeners. This is not, I'm not, believe me or not, I don't really give a shit. This is a story. Don't let your disbelief get in the way of a good story. The next day, I'm in the bathroom. There's a little single stall or single room bathroom around the corner from my little office. And I just walk in there to take a piss, obviously, and I'm fumbling in my pocket, trying to get a pen out. And suddenly I feel it, and it's right there in my pocket again.
Different set of pants?
It was a vest.
Oh, okay. A vest?
Yeah, like a safety vest.
Oh, like a work vest. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Again, not that this sort of thing will convince anybody, but this is something that I put on every day, and I meticulously put all my shit in the right pockets. I empty it out every day, taking all the shit out of my pockets because they all go back. I'm one of those people that I take shit out and I put it in the same place every fucking day because if I don't, I'll lose it.
I'm seeing a pattern.
I can tell you when I got out of my car this morning and I put all my pens in my pocket and I put my wallet in the right pocket and I put my phone and everything in the right pockets, it was not there. Now, again, and this is the same argument I used when I was talking to someone else about it. It's entirely possible that it got stuck in a weird fold somehow. It could have been there the whole time. That's very, very much possible. It could have been there. But, it's the old adage, right? 1 is an event, 2 is coincidence, 3 is a trend, and I don't believe in coincidences. That's not a good chaos magic perspective to have. You should believe in coincidences if you do chaos magic. Just saying. But, yeah, so it's there, and once again, it worked. Same day.
Showed up after the fact.
Showed up after the fact, and it was there. And now, because once that happens to you for the second time, now you're thinking, all right, well, shit, how do I make this happen again? So I did another one, and it disappeared. Has not reappeared yet. Did also not work immediately. So I'm kind of curious whether or not I just lost this one, and this is not I had to look this up because you don't see it a lot. The opposite of an apport is an assport.
It's a what now?
It's an assport.
Oh man, we are. Yep. That appeals very much to my 13-year-old sense of humor.
That one didn't work immediately, and this is just me trying to come up with something to make it that I didn't just lose this thing somehow, which again, I don't think I did. I really don't.
Oh, clearly the seal goblins have taken it away, and once your intent, once they are, it's like an order. It's like putting in a work order. You put down the seal goblins take it, they decipher your meaning, and they're going to go work on it like the little gremlins they are, and once it all comes together, they're going to deposit it back. It's like, all right, here's your receipt.
They're waiting for you to sing to them. They want you to sing Kiss from a Rose. Then the seal's going to work, and you'll have it back.
Baby, I can feel you. Yeah. So, at any rate,
love it.
Yeah. So, at any rate, I just thought it's a weird little phenomena, and it got me thinking about other times things have just kind of appeared magically or non-magically. The other one that happened to me recently, I told the cell about it, and this one's far less impressive because this could have just happened. Something could have just got under my car here. But I'm driving my car and suddenly I just hear this weird screeching noise. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? That is horrifying. Obviously my car is going to die. So I get out, like, looking around, trying to see if there's, like, something there. And the most perfectly sized stick had, like, wedged itself under the axle of my car and the ground, the road. And it's just this, little stick, nice and firm, thick, very, like, wand-like. And it's just kind of stuck there. And for whatever reason, it felt like it had some sort of significance. So obviously I take it out, and now I've been, like, working on it, turning it into something magically. And this sort of gets into, I guess, what the magical significance of an apport possibly could be. It almost touches on the same sort of level of what, like, a synchronicity does, right? Where you just have this sort of strange event that has some sort of significance to you, whether it's, with a literal meaning, or if it's just a weird happening that makes you question stuff. And it definitely fits into that sort of area for me. I'm not really sure how we should be interpreting it, or, if much like synchronicity, we're making too much of it and just saying, oh yeah, well, the brain makes weird connections out of things that happen to you. The difference being, at least with an apport, you have, like, sort of a weird, unexplainable event. I mean, that being said, everything I said is very explainable. It's like you're just bad at, like, placing stuff and you lose things because you're dumb.
Well, you can always explain it away. You can rationalize a weird experience into something that isn't as weird, isn't as spooky. And 9 times out of 10, that's the way to go. It really is. I'm not telling anybody to make mountains out of molehills, but to use Carl Jung as an example, as the man who coined the term synchronicity, there's a notable experience where he was around his property and he found a fish, and it was noticeably inland far enough that there's no logical way that it got there that really seems satisfying, of like, this is how this happened. And he took that and explored the significance of the sign of the fish and the timing and all of that. Odd things will happen to us, and sometimes, in certain contexts, there are meaningful interpretations that can be made, not in the way of people in the world with our rationalistic scientific sort of modality, but in the way of the sorcerer, in the way of the magician. And Carl Jung, I'm sure there are a lot of people that think Carl Jung was a psychologist. He wasn't. He was a magician. Everything that Jung talks about is essentially woo-woo. Another weird example that's kind of in that vein is Peter J. Carroll, where he talked about one of the few instances of this sort of direct magic that he had was he couldn't find his keys, and he was so frustrated about it. And he was like, he said, and I had this sort of gnosis point around the frustration, and I was just sort of, man, fuck it all. And then all of a sudden I hear my keys jingle out of the air and drop onto the ground. There's weird occurrences that can happen, and it doesn't matter so much that there's a rational explanation. Sometimes the practice in and of itself, like you're using your seals and the seal goblins that are running around snatching them, or something disappears and you have a moment as a person with the frustration or the magic sort of starts buzzing around you and then it appears. To me, that's enough, if that makes sense. It doesn't necessarily mean that something spooky happened just because something showed up or something disappeared, but there are certain instances where it might be better to accept it on its own terms rather than trying to sit there and come up with an explanation in a particular mindset.
I'm gonna do the thing. So I'm sorry about this. So Heidegger, right?
Oh boy.
The groans. Not to go too far into it, but Heidegger's very big on this idea that that man dwells poetically, right? It's from Hölderlin. In a basic sense that real philosophers will yell at me for. There's a way in which our existence is not the rational calculation of events, of how things work in some sort of physical way. What we do is we have this sort of measure taking, he calls it. But what it is that we have these poetic, these sort of metaphorical, these sort of non-rationalistic ways that we understand ourselves and the world around us. And that's really like the basic primordial sort of way that we're very detached from in the modern world of rationalism and stuff. And as spooky woo-woo people, that's very much what we're doing. That's what we're about. Even us as the sort of, neo-coyote pragmatist crowd where all we're really concerned about is, well, I want $45 and a blowjob. A lot of what we do is rooted in this sort of way of understanding ourselves in the world that isn't clear-cut, isn't looking for a rational explanation as to why the fish is so far inland, but is far more concerned with the less obvious, the less clear, what we can draw from having weird events like a piece of paper with a bunch of squiggles drawn on it disappearing from our pockets and then reappearing. Whether we can explain it away as, oh yeah, you're really good at misplacing stuff. Dee Dee, we have yacked way too long here without actually asking you anything.
Yeah, I was just see if you want me to tell my story about the balloon.
That's exactly what I want you to do, please.
Okay. So, I mean, like, how much detail you want me to give on this?
You can avoid saying the G word if you like.
The G word?
The GF word?
GF? What? Jeff? Oh, I'm fucking slow,
please,
dude.
Please leave that in. Leave that in,
Like, what
except
the
just
fuck
do
are you talking
bleeps or
about?
something.
That'd be hilarious.
Got it. Go ahead.
Okay, so, what was it? Like some Saturday morning or whatever. I woke up, go out into my sunroom that's like behind our house, and I see a green mylar star balloon and a little cluster of trees just like right in the middle of it. That's right out of the sunroom. So I take a picture of it and post it on the Discord, kind of talking to Benny about it and how it's kind of weird. It just popped up and then it was there for maybe about an hour and a half or so. And then I was inside and came back out, notice it's no longer there in the trees. And as I'm looking at my phone, Benny sent me a video of him driving down the street and seeing a green mylar star balloon that he's driving behind. So that was pretty weird.
And having seen the photo and the video, it's the exact same goddamn balloon.
Yeah, that one I'm just choosing to believe, like, yeah, that's some spooky shit. That's like, I think that's kind of how the spooky shit works is when it's really fucking dumb like that, that's kind of when it's real.
Yeah, right. When it's so dumb that like any other explanation of it feels even dumber.
Yeah. It's like, whatever, I'll take this thing. I don't really think it meant much in the grand scheme of things, but it's pretty cool that it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one story now that feels appropriate to this particular thing. It's not quite the object going to a place thing, but it kind of fits in that idea of when the silly shit happens, that's when you're sort of, it's almost undeniable. I've talked about my Minotaur fiasco before, and for those who don't know, is that when July 23rd came around, 6-7 years ago now, I think, I, having a great love of Robert Anton Wilson and his book Cosmic Trigger, I recreated the experiment that he did, where I took some mind-altering substances and performed Liber Samic, which is the invocation for the Holy Guardian Angel, because that's what Robert Anton Wilson did. And I got this weird thing with a Minotaur showing up, and then that proceeded to drive me bonkers for about 2 years. And at the time, I enjoyed different divination methods, but in this weird way, I had always avoided tarot because something about it felt kishy or played out, or I thought I was too cool for school. I don't know. But during this period, I bought my first tarot deck ever. Now, I had used Kennedy's Thoth deck before a couple times, but I bought, it's like, this is my first tarot deck. This one's the one that's mine. And of course, what I bought was a Spirit Halloween tarot deck. Which is, yeah, because of course, taking it very seriously. And for anyone that doesn't know, like a tarot deck, when it's sort of laid out, it starts with the Fool and ends with the 10 of discs. So I open it up and I pulled the very first card off the bottom of the deck, which I knew was going to be the 10 of discs. But when I pulled it up, I'm staring at it and it is a Minotaur. And it was one of those where it's like, oh man, you bought the super corny tarot deck, the silliest fucking thing. And this thing that has just been this overwhelming presence in your magical practice is there staring right at you like, ha ha, you thought. I think there's like I said, I think there's something to that idea of quite often the silliest nonsense thing is going to be the thing that stares you in the face and says, I'm undeniable.
Well, it's certainly the season for it. For those of you that don't know, it is Dog Days.
Yeah, as is custom for CMN, we do the serious working where we all attempt spooky woo-woo to contact the non-human intelligences that are in or around the star system Sirius. It's a fun time. It gets kind of what I was going to talk about earlier before the show started, where there's magic that is really centered around I want $45 and a blowjob, and then there's stuff that is just kind of funsies. I kind of put this in this is funsies camp, but it's still odd that even when you're doing the stuff for kicks, weird things will make their presence known. And if you end up at the Chaos Magic News Discord, there's a lot of people that are having weird experiences now that they're all going back and forth about.
Yeah, Dee Dee hasn't even done it this year and has been getting them.
Yeah. But the fucking printouts I had from like 2 years ago or whatever when we did it last.
Uh-huh.
Like I found when I was cleaning out my car, which I've cleaned out 1,000,000 times since then.
Oh.
Yeah.
It apported.
Yeah, after I said I was going to do it when I didn't plan on doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll do it. No, I won't. Fuck them. And then now I guess I kind of have to.
What did I tell you before, man? You got to be very careful about those magical oaths because you find the real ones and then you realize that you can't actually break them. Ah, shit.
I will rather test the limits of that one.
Dee Dee waking up suddenly with like the papers in his hand.
Just do it.
And then you're gonna do the whole invocation, and then all of a sudden, where did this lemon come from?
It's covered in ectoplasm.
Why's my butt hurt?
Now it's time for everyone's favorite section of the show.
That's right. It's where we roll up our sleeves, we take a deep breath, we invoke journalistic excellence, and we ask, What's in the news?
What?
Amen.
Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison. I just gave D trauma.
Yep. Not again, Father.
What is in the news, indeed?
All right. As the Trump admin solidifies its legacy as one of the most widely unpopular administrations, the conservatives and liberals alike are beginning to see the writing on the wall. Small pockets of socialist-adjacent candidates are gaining traction across the country with controversial and radical notions like the rent is too damn high and our tax dollars should not be stored directly next to the massive hole in the Pentagon's wall. And even more so, things like data centers shouldn't be able to poison everything they touch. Yeah. You know the type.
Yeah, they should.
This has invigorated both sides of the double-breasted suit that is the status quo demon of our two-party system, and they're doing what they do best. Call anyone who doesn't want to feed children to the baby-crushing machine an un-American communist radical. Yeah. So the Red Scare 2.0 is going strong as President Trump, Marco Rubio, and Mike Johnson have all made calls to weed out the diabolical influence on our nation. Meanwhile, Democrats are looking at the success and popularity with their progressive wing and disavowing them for breaking with the very party line of losing elections.
Pretty much.
It's also important, I think, when in the context of this, of Rubio going up in front of a bunch of nations and saying, listen, we need to weed out leftist extremism, and Mike Johnson going like, can you give us another $300 trillion to stop communism in our own borders? These things they are being parroted by their mass surveillance tech bro buddies. And then not just Elon Musk, his position just seems to be, what does everybody like? I'm against that. But no, like Peter Thiel said that the Pope was working at the behest of Red China. Everybody think about that for a second.
Well, it makes sense. Bishops, cardinals, they're red.
Yeah. Pretty soon he's going to say no Irish need apply.
Well, it really, the thing is, this has very little to do with actual communism, because real communists in America are a joke. They don't have any power. They don't have any influence. And like the idea of left-wing violence, for our listeners, this isn't a surprise, but in case you wandered in off of the street, left-wing violence is a drop in the bucket compared to the right-wing violence that has overwhelmingly dominated the headlines.
No.
But the thing is, and this right-wing violence is stuff that is outright ignored and sometimes even openly encouraged by these types of people. And it's the oldest trick in the book. It's controlling a narrative. Everybody has a narrative. The only real question is, what is the end goal of this narrative? And for this, it's finding a way to say that anyone who disagrees with what you want to do, it's dangerous and should be rounded up.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's not newsworthy in that it's like a crazy event. Like this is not really a new phenomena. It's just a more and more present one.
Well, it's the thing that I said it on the last episode, that they called Joe Biden a radical leftist communist. They called Kamala Harris a radical leftist communist. And then meanwhile, the Democratic Party, the establishment, are decrying all of these radical leftist communists who want you to have health care, Right now, I'm seeing headlines from The Atlantic that are about the Democrats fighting the left is what made them great, or you don't need socialism to have universal health care. And it's like, well, if that was true, wouldn't we have it by now? Everything the Democratic Party ever promises in terms of actual material conditions, not just the changing hats of culture war where they put on a dashiki and kneel during the protests, or they say, we've written a very strongly worded letter about ICE murdering people in the street. Everything they promise is things that are actually going to be delivered by their progressive candidates, who, bear in mind, are not communist. Mamdani is not a communist, at least not in what he's doing. What he's doing is milquetoast. It's left of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it's not anything shocking. Like it's just progressivism. It's liberal progressivism. That's what this is about. Most of these people are not talking about, creating a dictatorship of the proletariat. They're not talking about like creating an organized movement of workers. This is it's the typical elite kind of just leaning into progressive values. Like, what's so scary about that to these people? The only thing that could be scary about it is that they might win and then do something.
They never do anything.
Nothing ever happens. Well, I think it's worth noting that often the reason that progressive liberalism has succeeded time and time again in America is because it was the compromise. It was the compromise to socialism. It was the compromise to communism, Marxist mentalities, is that they said we can make capitalism more palatable. The real ideological line for most people is the idea that, can capitalism be reformed or can't it? I think most leftists that exist in America would tell you, no, to be left is to say that capitalism can't be reformed. But in terms of the actual politics that are going on, what we've got now are people that are doing the bare minimum to make a affordability crisis, a cost of living crisis that has been exacerbated by the stagnation of wages, the decoupling of wages from productivity, and the accumulation of wealth into smaller and smaller hands. It's basically, it's Band-Aids, it's patches on a deflating tire. And I'm not against those because I like the idea of people being able to eat. But it's hardly it's hardly Maoism, you know? They're not rounding up landlords. They're just telling you that you can't keep jacking up the rent. But that's not enough. We've got a system where there's so many people acting against their own interest, obviously, but it's because we have a strong right-wing core that has infected both parties that really comes down to the same thing I say in every episode, that they don't serve you. They serve BlackRock, Halliburton, Kraft Foods, Johnson & Johnson, and the devil. What's going to happen, and this is also going to be paired with the Trump, for everybody that doesn't keep up, Donald Trump made a big old speech the other day about how our elections are fraudulent and unsafe and how we shouldn't trust them. And there's going to be a sincere push to delegitimize our elections on the grounds that the radical communists have somehow infiltrated and taken over. And meanwhile, what they mean is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you know? To me, I don't know about you guys, to me, it's a joke to talk about communism in America because it doesn't exist. It's not there. There's some
not
dickheads.
in any real form that has any effect on the government.
It's a political movement that exists among such a small
people on college
subsection.
campuses.
Yeah, and people online. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Dickheads like us on podcasts.
Yeah, in fact, because you were mentioning earlier, you said something along the lines of the Marxists don't have much political pull or anything. I was like, yeah, you know what they have are like podcasts.
Yeah. We've got the market cornered, baby.
Hitting double-digit listeners.
It's yeah, so I don't know. I mean, what it comes down to is that it's a term that they're going to use to just further push the narrative that, you know, people that disagree with them politically are terrorists, and they're going to put them on watch lists and then put them in camps.
It's only that they're so incompetent that I don't think it's really going to work all that well.
Well, I mean, you know, they did get all of those people sentenced to, you know, ridiculous fucking prison terms out in Texas, so
yeah, that's true.
Granted, that's Texas.
I don't mean to dismiss it, because at the same time, you know, people going to ICE protest are getting visits from the feds and get the jump out boys are putting them in vans and you're never hearing from them again, stuff like that. There's bad stuff going on. It's just, by and large, what this administration has shown is that as much as they push the narrative, I mean, the example, the speech that I was talking about where Trump was rallying, even the corporate mouthpiece news stations didn't want to air it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how absurd it is that the president said, I'm putting a big old speech together, and then CBS or whatever said, no, we're not going to, we know the nonsense you're going to say, we're not going to air it. No one's going to watch.
The 2020 election was stolen.
You got any proof of that? No.
Ask Mike Lindell.
And yeah, but then meanwhile, what we do get to keep seeing is notable things like Paxton getting pointed out the multiple instances of voter fraud that he himself committed.
Yeah, and that video of him and his mistress on the bus at the airport.
Oh God, yeah.
It's so funny when he notices he's getting filmed.
They're just absolute clowns. It's hard to. The only thing that makes it worth talking about is that it is so absurd that you have to remind yourself that these people are in power and have real decision-making capacities. Because if not, you would just laugh.
Well, often what we find is that politics is the game of the big lie. You know, it's repeating something that just isn't fucking happening. I remember seeing a headline earlier this week about the banning of essentially failed abortions, where it's like, if the baby survives the abortion, you can't just take a pickaxe to his head or something like that. Like, they made a law against that. And it's one of those like, all right, great, you passed a law for something that is not fucking happening. Way to go. That's really what a lot of the conservatives are good at, is making laws banning things that aren't really a problem.
Yeah, distracting people with straw men.
Yeah, it's the MO. I'd say the bigger issue though is that a lot of times they try to pass this legislation and then their own people don't show up. Has anybody checked on Mitch lately?
I saw him snowboarding earlier with Shaun White.
He looked good though. He was fit. He was full of vigor.
Oh yeah, he did a gnarly 540.
Well,
thank God that AI has gotten so good because they can make us think that Mitch McConnell's still alive.
guys, he's obviously still alive. Why did if Mitch McConnell isn't alive, then Lindsey Graham died for nothing?
I do think that with 100% of my being, I think Lindsey Graham died for nothing.
No. They basically told him that they handed him the black mark, and he knew that he had to go into the dark temple where Mitch McConnell would drain off his life force so that he could be reinvigorated.
Last thing he asked about was his little ladybugs.
Oh God!
Mitch actually absorbed them. I mean, like you don't see him. You don't see him in the nude, as it were, but he has the marks. He's carrying the ladybugs with him now. It's sort of like Majin Buu. You guys remember Dragon Ball Z? It's sort of like he like absorbed him. He takes on some of his qualities.
So like Kirby.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was another pink absorby guy that from pop culture you can wrap your head around. Yeah, it's like Kirby. I bring up the Mitch McConnell thing to make a broader point, because Mitch McConnell had a very notable, like, oh man, he's super dead, and then everybody just shut up. Like, no, he's cool. He's fine. Don't worry about it.
I talked to him for a whole 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking to him for 20 minutes. It was crazy.
Do y'all think that they made like a fake
That's
phone
how long
call
that's
for
how
Mitch
long,
and they just played it?
That's how long the conversation was. It was only 20
They were
minutes.
talking to a Mitch McConnell chatbot.
And they ran out of credits, so they could only do
At
it for
Grok.
20 minutes.
Pretend to be Mitch McConnell.
What would Mitch say if he were here right now?
And definitely not dead.
You saw the shit that they were like doing major renovations on his house.
They have to put it in the Lazarus pit.
I all I'm saying is that I remember when my grandpa died and grandma was like, I think it's time to redo the place. You don't think they'd be like, hey, the drills and the tile scraping are going to make a whole lot of noise and he kind of needs to rest up there.
No, his wife ran off she ran off to China, didn't she? When he's flatlining and she's just off with her folks.
Wouldn't you if you were married to Mitch?
She finished her job.
No, but I bring this up because another notable, this was a very notable one where it was like, oh yeah, something bad happened, and then everybody shut up. But Tom Keene Jr., representative from New Jersey, disappeared for 3-4 months. Just didn't show up for a vote or anything, and then came back saying that he was suffering from depression. And in my mind, I was like, well, you're a congressman for New Jersey, so
Yeah, of course you're depressed.
yeah, tracks, right? But
What party is he affiliated with?
Republicans.
He went to diversion therapy.
Oh. They saw what Lindsey Graham was doing. We got to keep you in line.
Yep. No more of this ladybug bullshit.
Oh boy. But between that and then, I don't know if you guys remember, this is from almost 2 years ago now. Rep. Kay Granger of Texas. She disappeared for several months, and then they found her in a nursing facility, and her son claimed that she was suffering from dementia issues. There's something very strange going on as we have, an aging populace and also a lot of old coots that are just refusing to give up. Feinstein is another example. But these old coots that are just holding on to these positions for as long as they possibly can and then disappearing, Or example with Tom Keene, he's not particularly old, but if I didn't show up at the Costco for my shift for 2 days, I would be unemployed. But meanwhile, you can just vanish from your elected position. You're clearly, I understand that mental health is a real issue. If you're suffering from some sort of problem, you need to get help. But should that be kept secret? You know, if Mitch McConnell is catatonic, hooked up to some kind of machine that is pumping the pneumatic system that's powering his tortoise homunculi body, should he not be beholden to the people that elected him to at least say what the hell is going on?
Well, he probably is beholden to the people that elected him. But that's, again, BlackRock, Johnson & Johnson, the techno-organic monstrosity at the end of history, and Satan.
Yeah, that's fair. I foresee this becoming a chronic issue amongst our elected body. And it makes me think of, honestly, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, where these people that clearly know something is wrong, they're having health issues, they're having, their minds are going, their bodies are failing, and they're just holding on to these positions for as long as they can. And I'm wondering at what point I don't know what the system would have to be, because you need to have something, like, I don't know, inspectors going around seeing, like, are you competent to hold this position?
What do they do to get rid of your driver's license?
Manslaughter.
Oh, well, shit.
Manslaughter charge.
Well, we can't remove every politician that gets a manslaughter charge. That would be ridiculous.
Well, I'm just thinking of, like, Clarence Thomas. He's in with Monsanto, so they're probably giving him, like, gene therapy. He's part rutabaga at this point. It looks kind of like it's going to eventually look sort of like the Council of Trees from Swamp Thing.
Just the Ents on the Supreme Court.
I mean, that's kind of what they look like already. And then they're just going to be like, the president can shoot someone in the face. Here.
Then they drink their adrenochrome.
Just like Mom used to make out of my brother.
Realistically, because it's like you don't want to just slap an age onto it, but there has to be some.
No, I do.
What do you think?
Like 64.
64? Damn.
Okay.
All
yeah,
right.
get out of here. You're old. Go retire. That's earlier than the retirement age for Social Security. You should be thankful.
Well, there really are people that are like, I don't want to spend my golden years in a rocking chair. I want to be ruining democracy.
All right. What else you got? Because this is just unreasonably depressing.
Well, if we want to talk about health issues too, Pete Hegseth, right? He's talking about, or he's floating the idea of testosterone screenings for active servicemen. And if your testosterone's dipping, they're going to give you injections to get you back up. He wants manly men working at peak condition for his war games. And the hypocrisy of hormone treatment for people who want to feel masculine and be at their best, that's obvious. But you have to remember that.
Not even that, because this is making you do it if you got low T. Like, oh yeah, you want to be in the army? Well, guess what? You better have fucking high enough numbers. That's fucking insane. That's fucking nuts.
Well, it's there's no point in pointing out the hypocrisy for conservatives because they don't care. It's why they win. But it's not even really hypocrisy to them, because whether it's RFK Jr. failing to do the pull-up, like, do you guys remember that video? Like, he's trying and it's, it looks very much like 8th grade gym class, where he's just trying his damnedest. Or there's a video of PD who is doing very questionable form for his weightlifting with the troops for the photo ops.
Yeah. Very dainty.
Yeah, dainty. That's a good word for it. Or Vance using the filter that made his hands look all weird.
You already knew where I was going. Yeah, it was a filter that's supposed to make you look thinner, but instead you end up looking somewhere between like AI slop and a TikTok cryptid, a little skinwalkery, But, and then, of course, who can forget the fact that we have a president who, according to his doctors, is a borderline bodybuilder. He's 6'3" and 230 pounds of all muscle, and definitely not.
No, okay. Hey, admittedly, his doctor didn't bullshit us that bad. They said he's like peak physical health, except he's fat, which I'm sure just ate the dude up alive. He's like, I'm not fat. You can't say that. Like, but Donnie, it's very obvious you're fat.
I'm drinking all these Diet Cokes. What do you mean? These are obvious jokes, but what it points to is there is an obsession amongst this enclave of political personalities who are admittedly drunks and geezers and men living
Out of shape,
sedentary lifestyle. They mostly fit the American populace. They in a way, you actually have somebody who represents you, at least in a slight kind of sort of way. But they have an obsession with strong man portrayal. These are people that are doing their damnedest to give the appearance of machismo. And it's what I'm pointing to earlier, where it is in the same way that they perpetuate the big lie of particular narratives. This is the narrative that they have about themselves, and they will go to weird lemon in the petticoat lengths to make you believe it. And meanwhile, they're old and they're dopey, and I don't think most of them are there mentally. And the ones that are young enough that they should have their wits about them are they're drinking the waters of life. Finnegan's Wake.
Yeah, say what you want about Yukio Mishima, but at least he was jacked.
And I think in a way it's because and we're talking, I guess, maybe the psychology of magic, perhaps. They are trying to present themselves as the image that their constituents, the people that vote for them, want. They want a strong man. These are people that, in the same way that they hate trans women because they are embracing a feminine quality, blah, blah, blah. And it's because they want these hard lines of this is what a man is. But what we're seeing is that their hard line of what a man is isn't even attainable by the people that are propagating the idea.
Yeah, it's a real failure magically is what it is, because it's the use of an image, it's the use of, a signifier of a symbol for the purpose of, bringing about change in the world, right? But it's not something that they can actually integrate and bring into their lives in any sort of meaningful way. It's only the use of the image to try to manipulate people. I made the joke about Yukio Mishima, but again, at least Yukio Mishima was actually a jacked, crazy person. He had these really ridiculous ideas about masculinity, about, what it was to be a fucking man. Yeah. And at least he lived up to it in some sort of physical sense. Granted, he fucking committed seppuku after failing to commit a coup. But, I think that would be better for all these people. I think they could benefit from committing seppuku after failing a coup.
Well, they already did that.
That's really the question. It's do you guys think I'm on to something here? Do you think it's to me, that makes sense. It is really about, I'll use the dirty F word. It is fascism. It's fascism's playbook of producing an image of a strong authoritarian, except they can't even properly live up to it. And I think in a way the best thing you can do is continually mock it.
Yeah, refuse to give it power.
Yeah, that's the best you can do. The fact that anyone is taken in by it is absolutely ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
That anyone is still resonating with the proud Aryan idea, or even the more simple, good, rugged American individualism idea is just laughable.
It's Hulk Hogan.
Exactly. It's 100% Hulk Hogan.
It's Mr. America.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Those weren't the same people.
No, they weren't. He took the lie detector test.
No proof, yeah.
Well, it makes perfect sense because, Hulk Hogan did have a 12-inch penis, right? But Terry Bollea did not have...
What, in his ass?
Do you guys remember the defamation lawsuit with Gawker? And he had to go on the stand and say that, Hulk Hogan has a 12-inch penis. Terry Bollea does not have a 12-inch penis.
Yeah.
We need more of that, because I think Alex Jones, for example, is a great example where he had to go in court and be like, no, this is a character. I'm playing when I'm talking about the gay frogs and how Hillary Clinton is an interdimensional black-bellied mosquito. No one would reasonably take that seriously. I think we need more of these people having to get under
break
oath.
kayfabe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, I can't believe. Well, we had Dee Dee on, so we had to bring it back to wrestling somehow, right?
Of course, of course.
It's there very much is a similarity between the idea of kayfabe, this sort of playing up to an unreality, and fascism. And in a magical sense, there really is something to, particularly in the coyote mindset, I suppose, the way in which you can play into an unreality for your own benefit. There's a real tech there. There's a real way of going about your magic, in much in the way that we talked about earlier about Jung and when I talked about poetic dwelling and stuff. There's a way in which you can engage with sort of magical ideas that you don't buy fully, that you don't really exist in, but for the purposes of doing the work, you can engage with and bring about results with. That's a really good, important thing. The problem being, of course, that these people are using it for fascism.
Yeah, because I definitely think you can, like, kayfabe yourself into some shit. I mean, that's why there's some truth to, like, the whole law of attraction bullshit.
Right, 100%.
I think part of the issue of leftism in America is that we don't have enough of it. We're all very oriented on. You hear people talking about, like, oh, you got to organize, and you do have to organize. You do have to get out in your community and all that stuff. But we don't have the great myths to pin our hats on. And a lot of like staunch Marxists, staunch communist type people try in the sort of almost rehabilitating sort of way of explaining, like, well, you were propagandized to hate Stalin. You were propagandized to hate Mao. And it's like they did some really awful shit. You know, like, I don't think you need to make these people palatable. I think you need to have better myths. And I always go back to the labor movement of early America.
Yeah. Fucking people like Joe Hill and Big Bill Haywood and fucking Eugene Debs.
Yeah.
Like, these are the people that you can point to in the history of American socialism, anarchism, syndicalism. These are
Hennessy.
people. Yeah. Ammon Hennessy. There are people that you can point to and have these sort of, grander mythic understandings of what it is to try to bring about the project of socialism, as it were. Even in a simpler sense, just being like a decent human fucking being and not feeding children into the death machine.
Why do we not have child labor? Why do we have an 8-hour workday? Because people got shot. Because, because people were willing to put their lives on the line for what was right, and what was right was the will of the worker.
Yeah.
I got a little soapboxy there. I'm sorry.
You? Never.
Do you guys want a fun one?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay. Have you guys heard about the fiasco about the White House teleprompter operator?
I have not.
I saw a headline.
Gabriel Perez is the employee's name, but he is under investigation for allegedly making 6 figures off of betting on call sheet about what Trump was going to say during his speeches, the mention market, as it were. And for me, that's a shock, because I've heard the man's speeches, and I was convinced he was ad-libbing a good 70 to 80% of these things. If you told me that this man had a teleprompter, I wasn't like, maybe someone was holding a cue card that had like the quick scribbles of like, you got to talk about immigration here, and the Trump phone, and then just communist.
And Crooked Hillary.
Crooked Hillary. It is wild to think that the guy who's doing the teleprompter was just kind of like, and all right,
It doesn't surprise me at all.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all, but it is kind of crazy to think that he's just sitting there and he's like, all right, this is the speech you're supposed to type up. So he goes, okay, and Kalshi bet, and then just let me put in, I don't know, Meatball Ron. There we go. Click.
If he wasn't betting as much, I doubt he would have gotten caught, because it's kind of fucking brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's a great fucking plan.
Yeah, just don't get so greedy.
They caught him because he was basically making, what's the word? Sort of unorthodox bets, like bets that didn't follow the pattern of somebody who was taking guesses. It was more of the sure thing every time. If he had been a little bit smarter. And what upsets me is that it seems everyone involved in this administration has some kind of side grift that they're working on. The Trump family is making millions upon billions millions and billions Carl Sagan dollars off of crypto. Why did this guy, why is he the problem? It's very rules for thee and not for me. Why is
because he's just a teleprompter operator. He's not important.
Yeah, you're not in the inner circle. You weren't at the Epstein parties, so you don't get to make the silly bets. I mean, that's not even touching the weird market manipulation that's been going around surrounding the war, where it's like, all right, we're gonna escalate on Monday, and then we're gonna de-escalate on Friday when the markets close.
Yeah.
In a way, I think maybe it would be a good olive branch to extend to the American people. If we were all just allowed to get away with a little more crime, if that happened, maybe we wouldn't be so concerned about corruption if we could get mine, It's like, I got my crumbs, the rest of you.
I mean, you're not getting away with crimes right now?
None that I'm willing to talk about on a podcast.
I mean, why even living then, man? Maybe LIVIN.
All right, what else you got?
All right, let's get into the weird headlines. James Franco, after a long hiatus from social media of all kinds, particularly because he got caught doing some really less than great stuff, He's made his return on TikTok and the like to talk about the UFO and alien phenomena that he recently had, to the point that he shared the footage that seems to be of like a garage cam. Notably, he didn't upload the footage. What he did is he stuck his laptop in front of a camera, like some kind of early 2000s Let's Player.
Yeah.
And I think one thing is notable is that this is a trained actor, so he can sell bullshit like nobody else. But he's putting out this thing, and it's Plan 9 from outer space. It looks like it's little green men on a really poorly done video camera.
2 upside down plates put together.
Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet. I want to talk about this because it really does seem that the UFO craze is really coming back in full swing for not just the American populace, but the world. There was the woman from the Brazil game claiming she was psychic and that there was going to be mass abductions during the whole thing. There was the priest we mentioned earlier that got taken down as an exorcist because he was saying too much about UFOs and little green men being demons, or Vance showing up on podcasts to say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. But it really shows that this is once again reinserted itself into the popular conscious. I mean, didn't Spielberg do a new movie, The Disclosure or whatever it's called?
Yeah. I have not seen it.
I'm not going to watch it. I have no interest.
I'll watch it once it hits streaming.
Yeah, maybe. But it's wild to me that this is a very easy sort of gambit, I suppose, because if nothing else, a lot of people are going to start watching because they think, oh man, notable Hollywood man James Franco is going crazy, but he's got video, which is that he had to have hired somebody or made it himself, to put the video in front of people's eyes.
Just use some students from a school.
Yeah. I mean, and that might be the case that much like the 2 birds from earlier, maybe somebody's going to come forward and say, oh, no, that was, that was me and my buddies in the prop department. We made a stupid little suit and gave it to him so he could putz around his garage.
Yeah.
Do you think that UFOs still serve that same purpose? Like the idea that they're almost a stand-in for the religious experience? Like as we've become an increasingly secular age, we cling to the idea of weird, Bigfoots and UFOs.
I think there's part of that still.
Yeah.
But frankly, you know what it is? It stands in for religion the same way that like fandoms stand in for religions now. That's really how I feel about it. It's not so much that like it gives people a sense of awe that like religion gives them. It doesn't give people like a sense of wonder. What it gives them is like a unifying like communal sort of thing. Like UFO people are a thing. They're all kind of wrapped up together, and they, just like religious people, they have their squabbles and they argue about what's what. But if you're like a UFO person, if you're like a someone that's really committed to the idea of extraterrestrials or super terrestrials or whatever sort of thing, you're part of this group. Same thing with like cryptid people. And how do you interact with it? You interact with it the same way that you interact with like being a K-pop demon hunter person.
You get the McDonald's meal?
Yes, the Bigfoot McDonald's meal is going to be fucking awesome. It's going to make them $1 billion. The fries are out of focus.
And honestly, I read John Keel's The Eighth Tower because Dee Dee told me to read it. And one of the things he harps on is the idea that all of these increasingly esoteric, and esoteric just meaning it's hard to grasp all of the ins and outs of it. All of these esoteric groups of these people obsessed with cryptids and these people obsessed with UFOs and little green men and people obsessed with the spooky occult, all in a way are doing themselves a disservice, because one person will be, I'm really hard up on swamp apes and all of this, but those guys with the UFOs are crazy. Rather than what his 2 cents was that the idea that all of these combined said something greater, about the sum of their parts, that it spoke to a phenomena that was going on for hundreds of thousands of years. And I guess it's a little Jacques Vallée too, in the idea of we've been having these types of events for so long, and we just have different cultural dressings that we put on them. The one thing I'm wondering is if there's going to be a big reveal of like, oh, no, this was actually because I have some weird alien movie that's coming out this summer.
I mean, Spielberg did.
Yeah, but then the timing is off. Then it's like
with James Franco, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is maybe it's gonna be more like
Dee Dee thought you meant like the entirety of like UFOs coming back into vogue.
Yeah.
Like it's all just one viral marketing campaign.
Oh, that's just that's the narrative, man. That's the narrative
Vance
control.
on it. It's great.
Oh, and then the movie flopped. It's like, damn it, this was actually a ploy to get you to see Supergirl, and nobody saw it. Damn.
Yep.
Now we gotta act like this shit's real. Shit.
Committing to the bit because you don't want to admit your movie flopped.
I'm just saying, Independence Day 3 gonna be really big, y'all. How come they didn't do Independence Day 3 like for the big 250?
Because Independence Day 2 was awful.
Never saw it.
Like that's ever stopped them from making another bad movie. How many aliens do we have?
Okay, fair point. Another goofy headline. This is from Vice. The Shroud of Turin is covered in food and animal DNA, new study finds.
Hot.
For anyone who's not familiar with the Shroud of Turin, it is a piece of cloth, presumably a burial cloth, that supposedly has the image of Jesus Christ burned into it. It's been paraded around for decades now as proof of the resurrection or proof of holy influence and powers, and people have tried to carbon date it to see if it actually fits the right time period, but
and
it got
doesn't.
burnt up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was their explanation. Like, no, it's fucked up because it got set on fire.
It got set on fire once. I mean, and that's actually a very strong thing that goes through a lot of Catholic backing. Orthodoxy does a little, not really, like, but there's the whole relic mentality of holding on to some piece that belonged to some saint or some holy figure. But the Shroud of Turin has been a big one. It's been the center of a lot of folks going, no. The Jesus thing definitely happened because we have the cloth that he was buried in, and it has the image of Ted Nugent burned into it. It's probably by radioactive material from the resurrection or something.
The church my parents go to have like a life-size picture, basically, of the Shroud of Turin up in the church.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. Love that.
Fucking Catholics.
Fucking Catholics, man. They just love the craziest shit.
Yep.
I'm not bagging on anyone that like has some sort of sacred reverence for relics in a Christian sense. Like, that's fine. But specifically the Shroud of Turin, has been, like, beat to fucking death. Like, this is not really the thing. Like, can we just... I understand it would undermine so much of the church to just admit it, but, like, can't we all just kind of, like, let it go a little bit and just kind of stop talking about it, maybe?
I don't even know if the Catholic Church is, like, as a hierarchy is really big on it or not. I mean, displays of it in the church aside, but they did a test on it, and apparently, like, people have just been... They got barbecue sauce from eating some ribs and wiped it off on there.
They used it to dry the dog.
I was peeling potatoes and it got on the Shroud of Turin. Oh, man.
See, this is my point, right? Like, because it got set on fire. It's covered in, like, horse shit and fucking, food and stuff.
There's a picnic tablecloth.
Wouldn't you think that if it was really that important, that it wouldn't have gotten, like, used for any of this shit?
It was just sitting in somebody's home for years and they didn't know what they had. You know what? That's probably why the stains look like that. It's just been food and dingy stuff over the years slowly, and they're sort of like, it kind of looks like Jesus.
Wait, I can save this, right? We just gotta change the narrative. We've been talking about changing narratives this whole time. We gotta change the narrative. It's not the burial cloth. It's from the Last Supper. Jesus got a little messy, and he had to use it to, like, wipe his face and everything, right? Right? See? We got it.
Judas Iscariot was blowing his nose on it when he was crying.
Okay, I'm going to read this off from the Vice article. There's also non-human DNA all over it. And when I say non-human, I not only mean animals like dogs, cats, pigs, chickens, cows, rabbits, horses, fish, and crustaceans. Now, for anyone who's up to date on their scripture, pigs and crustaceans are two big no-nos. But also foods like carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, potatoes, peppers, bananas, peanuts,
beans, greens,
spam and spam, sausage, egg and spam, and also Mediterranean red coral. So I'm honestly wondering
one
what
of these things is not like the other.
The story behind this cloth is outrageous. I want to know how many hands this changed. It's almost like the feather at Forrest Gump. Imagine just the Shroud of Turin blowing away onto different things forever until somebody picked it up and it said, that looks like the guy.
Just who's following Tom Hanks around.
Yeah.
And then, for no real reason, they put that man on the cross.
Fucking God. Okay. A couple more and we'll round this out. There is a rumors surrounding the death of bodybuilder, influencer, and look maxer, a phrase that most of our listening audience will only be vaguely aware of because they're all old like us. Connor Murphy, who recently passed away in a strange drowning incident, but the rumors have been circulating around him explaining that he was injecting gold into his body as part of this regimen of fitness, health, and increasing his looks. And in the oddest way, this does fall into the weird thing I was talking about of these strange ploys to masculinity, of these strange ploys of virility and aesthetics and beauty that are taken to absurd conclusions, where some internet personality is falling into the same trap that Taoist alchemists were thousands of years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not looks maxing, he's fucking emperor maxing.
And it in the same way that there was the people that were taking I'm trying to remember what the word is, but the silver that turns you blue, it boosts your immune system, that sort of thing. It's this weird fringe health stuff that goes on, and then it ends up, I can't say that killed him, but it was definitely speaking to some kind of underlying problem that this person was doing weird stuff to their body to pursue some unobtainable ideal. And then meanwhile, he was also peddling himself to an audience that were presumably lapping it up. I mean, I'm sure there's a certain level of people looking at this like a freak show because, oh man, look at the weird jawline that this person has cobbled out of their own flesh. But a lot of like particularly young men who are directionless would look up to.
Yeah, the closest comparison I can give to it is, do y'all know about the Liver King?
Yeah.
This is just my pet theory. This is not like I'm not a psychologist, so, don't come at me about this. But what I think it is that certain people have this, not only a psychological compulsion to live up to, this idealized self that they have, this, leaning into the masculine ideal, the aesthetic appeal to beauty, that sort of thing. Basically the same shit that we're talking about with the fascist over here, being Yukio Mishima. And it just drives you crazy. It does, because what else would it possibly do? When you live your entire existence built around some ideal self that you can't possibly reach, and most of us do this in some capacity. Most of us don't take it to this much of an extreme, but a lot of us are brutalizing ourselves over a failure to live up to some ideal self, right? That's a normal sort of human thing. It's fucking Freudian, for God's sakes. It's super ego type shit. But when you couple that with the fact that you have a monetary incentive to live up to, when you're an influencer like Liver King or like Connor here, it just drives you fucking nuts. Eventually you're gonna snap. And, that's what's happened to Connor and led to his untimely death, it seems. And it's what happened with Liver King that ended up with him going to Austin to, like, fight Joe Rogan.
Did he win?
No, he was arrested. Because that's what happens.
Oh, so he lost. Why would Joe Rogan do this to him?
It's the same sort of mentality that, you will convince yourself and others that you can have a incredibly jacked, ridiculous body by eating like organ meats, when the reality is that you're on steroids. And the same thing with, Connor here, where you'll eventually just drive yourself so crazy that you'll start injecting gold into your bloodstream. Like, that's a thing to do. I don't know who the fuck said it, a friend of his in a tweet. So I have no clue if this is real, because I'm not super familiar with Connor. But he said something to the effect of it was part of a strange idea he had developed, that gold was this like super important resource that was hoarded by the wealthy and the powerful because it had massive health benefits, which is the sort of thing you come up with when you're nuts.
No. You see, the gold actually it picks up the vibrations from the super spectrum. That's why all of the old temples and the idols get made out of gold. That's how you talk to the gods.
This is some Davidite shit.
It really fucking is.
No, that's Eighth Tower, my dude.
You told me to read it.
I know.
Is it not true?
It's just a primer to get you into Davidite.
I've been going all these cash for gold places.
Fucking nuts. Listener, just telling you, don't inject gold into your body. I don't care what spooky idea you come up with. Just don't do it.
Send it to us.
Yeah, send it to us. That's a lot of months of Patreon right there.
And I want to bring this up because, in a way, like I said, the Trump administration fascination with virility, and we're going to shoot our soldiers up with testosterone, and wait, it'll turn into we're going to inject them with human growth hormone, and it's going to be like the Prussian giants all over again.
It's going to turn into them saying, let's inject them with gold.
Anunnaki task force. In the same way that this relates to that story, and it also relates to Bryan Johnson, the longevity guru, the man who said he was going to stop aging. One of these life extension types that when Robert Anton Wilson was talking about it with cryo and stuff, it seemed a little cool, but the reality is kind of stark raving mad, isn't it? This is a man who had these crazy dietary things, and the rumors that he was getting blood transfusions from his own son.
That is like the closest to like adrenochrome shit you will see in real life, I think.
It really is,
right?
Yeah, but he has developed an autoimmune condition that is eating his own stomach lining. I did see a tweet that said that this is one of those things that might happen when you're injecting yourself with
Gold?
things like blood. No, not gold. Things like blood from your own relatives. It's actually not as cool of an idea as you think it is. So it very well could be that the self-proclaimed biohacker has biohacked himself into an incurable condition.
Into AIDS.
He's biohacked himself to pieces, brother.
Yeah, it's but it all relates to a similar enough sort of hell, you want to call it what it is, dysphoria, isn't it? It's this idea of looking at your own embodied presence and not being okay with it, and doing in this case, not always, there are ways that are perhaps healthy and some that are quite unhealthy. You know, Michael Jackson getting the plastic surgery till his own nose collapsed, those sorts of things.
Dysmorphia.
Oh, fuck. I'm an asshole now. We're going to get canceled, aren't we?
Yep. Everyone loves Michael again. He's top of the charts again.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Because they made that movie where they ignored all the problematic stuff.
Yeah.
You know how much they ignored the problematic stuff? They made his dad look like a good dad. They made Joe Jackson look like he was a good father who maybe pushed him a little too hard.
Oh, shit.
Instead of punching him in the face.
So you watched the movie?
Had multiple people describe it to me.
When it showed Joe taking blood from Michael and injecting it into himself, that was the... For real, I think this all speaks to a certain mentality that is in a lot of individuals, particularly young men. Not so much in the way they act it out, but they see these older men who are basically broadcasting their how unwell they are and the weird lengths that they'll go to, and they lap it up. It's this mentality that carries itself to some very ugly places. And there's a bit of Schadenfreude here of saying, ah ha ha, you were trying so hard to Dorian Gray yourself, and that's exactly what you got.
I mean, fuck him. He's an incredibly wealthy man.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he deserves it.
he deserves
Couldn't have happened to a better person.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
There are
I
people
want to be immortal, but instead I gave myself AIDS.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it.
Like, can't even monkey paw right, dude.
Yeah, it's like, there are people that have done nothing. There are people that have done nothing and gotten horrible diseases. Why am I going to feel bad for him for trying to be immortal and filling himself up with his kid's blood? Like, fuck
Not only
you.
that, the other thing is, who amongst us doesn't have some granny or some aunt that smoked like a chimney and drank Thunderbird, and she lived to be like 97?
Right, yeah. You know, like it's the oldest living man in the Bronx, and he's just talking about, like, all I eat is like canned soup, and I swallow the smoke when I smoke the cigar. I don't inhale.
And meanwhile, Bryan Johnson is 48.
All right. We got anything else?
Oh, I think that's about all I've got. Did I miss any headlines? Oh, don't eat the lettuce. Nobody eat a vegetable ever again. It's gonna give you the Trump trots.
It's got poop on it, bro.
Yeah.
They pooped on the lettuce.
They pooped on... Somebody got the trots already, and they pooped on the lettuce.
Well, that's what killed Lindsey Graham, right?
Yeah. So everybody, if you've been listening, buy gold and eat canned soup, and you will live forever.
Or at least, like, 5 minutes.
You will live longer than Bryan Johnson getting blood transfusions from his own son.
The universe is just so poetic sometimes.
We dwell poetically. We've said that already.
And for our culture piece, we are going to be diving in ever so briefly into the Gulf Breeze 6 incident. For those of you who are unaware, in July of 1990, 6 officers in the American 701st Military Intelligence Brigade were arrested in Gulf Breeze, Florida, presumably traveling, spurred on by, we will call them spiritual beliefs or sort of woo-woo. Michael Hustet, Chris Perlock, William Sederberg, Vance Davis, Kenneth G. Bazin, and Annette Eccleston were declared absent without leave from their base on July 9th, 1990. This base was in what was at the time West Germany, and were found 5 days later in Gulf Breeze, Florida. According to the stories surrounding the incident, they came to survive an oncoming apocalyptic event, and possibly because of some sort of correspondence with UFOs and the UFO phenomena. The Gulf Breeze area was notable for a series of UFO sightings that were largely debunked, which we will get into just a little bit later. The headlines from around this time actually describe these six as being part of a cult. They're described as, cranks, as it were. The idea being that somehow the prevalence of UFO phenomena in the area and certain beliefs that they had come to take because of use of a Ouija board, which gave them various predictions about incidents that were occurring, led them to desert their post, hop a plane back to the States, and just disappear. And there was a lot of fervor surrounding it. There was a lot of hype. Like I said, they were described as a cult. They were described as a bunch of kooky people, cranks. Had they thought the rapture was going to happen or something like that. It's one of those incidents that I'm surprised I hadn't heard of until I was looking around for things to talk about for the show, like weird, spooky incidents. And it's interesting in and of itself, because it's like, oh yeah, some crazy's got an idea. But these were what you would imagine would be intelligent, to literally work in military intelligence. You'd think you'd have your head on straight, but the way in Mr. Aquino, what are you doing here? Essentially, it was 5 days later, July 14th, and they were, most of them were found at basically just at a house of almost bumming around. It was a case of one of them got stopped got stopped by the cops, like running a red light, that type of deal. And then it sort of led to this whole thing unraveling. It's not so much unique in the idea of that this occurred, or even that it was military officers, but the way it was handled afterwards was strange. And then the back and forth from some of the people involved afterwards is really notable. The short version is, after they were caught, they were brought up on charges because when you have security clearances, when you have access to relevant information that could be used, there is this fear that they were deserting because they were trying to defect, because they were trying to possibly peddle information to a buyer or something like that. So they're brought up on desertion rather than just you didn't show up to work, which is really kind of what happened. The charges actually get dropped and they all get discharged. And it's only later that Vance Davis writes a book titled Unbroken Promises, which is several years later, that really digs into it. And if I remember, Vance is the one that sort of takes the ball and runs with it, where he's like, well, I got kicked out after this. Maybe I can start going on talk shows and stuff.
Yeah, doing Coast to Coast.
Yeah, Coast to Coast was the big one. You were telling me about that, right?
Yeah, I listened to that episode.
The whole thing? Yeah.
No, just his segment. I ain't got like 6 hours to kill. Only for you guys.
Oh, wait a minute.
To hear Vance talk about it, the idea was that they were all in the same brigade. They all had a certain level of pre-existing spooky ideas, and they started fooling around with this Ouija board, right?
Yeah, he said they were all kind of into like parapsychology and that kind of stuff, and were open to the idea of just kind of playing around with it. So they started to have like what they call them their prayer meetings or Bible studies or whatever when they were messing with the Ouija board.
Now that's the big thing that really I think is, to me, it's interesting, the idea of like, now in reality these things often group together, but it's always funny to me of imagining my days of hearing people from Bible study talking about don't mess with tarot, don't mess with the Ouija boards because they're gonna let demons in, and it's like no, we were having Bible study and then somebody just busted this thing out and we all went with it. What's interesting to me in a lot of ways is the way in which that a lot of the sort of Christian eschatology, I guess is the way to describe it, is there was this idea of a rapture that was going to come across, or there was this sort of Christian end of the world. There was an antichrist that was going to come. That was some of the ideas that are floated around. But meanwhile, they end up at Gulf Breeze, which you can't tell me that they picked this place at random or that this just happened, because Gulf Breeze is a spot that had a huge surge of UFO sightings centered around a man named Ed Walters, who had all of these massive photographs taken over. He had all of these incidents where he thought the UFOs were following him and they were hitting him with laser beams and then he said, I filmed my wife while she was trying to get away from it, and these aliens came down and talked to me. And a lot of the UFO sensationalists of the time really ate it up, which only made it that much funnier that as they tried to do things like give Walters a better camera, he would be like, oh, no, the aliens don't want to show up. And then when he uses his dodgy Polaroid, they start popping up again. Or I know there was a couple incidents where it's like the UFO aficionados would show up to be like, hey, Walters, they're following you around. We're just going to hang around. And then the minute they leave, it's like, man, you're not going to guess what happened. Right? You just missed him. I'm sorry. In a weird way, the myth of this place became a tractor beam for other weirdos, I guess, other oddball ideas. So the Gulf Breeze 6 start having these incidents that are surrounding where all of these predictions are getting made, and there's a whole list of predictions that they had supposedly gotten from this thing that we're going to crack into in a minute. It's notable that it starts around this one particular area because probably like closer to 3 years before, there was a host of UFO incidents that happened from this one guy, where he's getting all of these crazy photos, and these different UFO groups are gathering around. And then the big thing being that, because of course in 1990, a month before, basically, a report comes out that somebody found one of the models in Ed Walters' former house that is oddly similar to the UFOs that showed up in the photos. And it comes out that he had basically gotten like some styrofoam and paper plates and glued them together and used a series of mirror images and superimposing things to make these photos. But by then it had already been too late. The mythos of Gulf Breeze had already gotten completely oversaturated, so that these 6 people who started having spiritual experiences thought, we got to go here. And I think that might be part of why in later interviews and in the book, Vance Davis tries to almost completely disavow the UFO phenomena. He's like, no, that didn't have anything to do with it. We were coming after the Antichrist.
Yeah, we were talking to angels and biblical figures. And
that was basically the byline.
Yeah, and then one entity they called Sapphire. Sapphire was the one that told him to go to the channeler in Germany.
Oh, there was a different channeler in Germany that they went to. That was the thing I was going to mention too.
Yeah.
Is that the woman, the house where they arrested most of them was another woman that supposedly was a psychic. So maybe there was a network there where they were just like, hey, no, she's cool. You should just go down there.
Yeah. That was Anna Foster, was the lady in Florida. Because, I mean,
yep.
They all had connections to Florida because they were all trained in the base in Pensacola.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, they have connections to the Gulf Breeze area anyways.
Yeah, I guess when you put it like that, there's a case of like the weird ideas were already saturated there and they were in the area. So then they just piss off to Germany and they still have the weird. So it's almost just dragging everything back.
Yeah.
The real question is, what did they think was going to happen when they got there? Because I remember reading a couple things where there was the idea that aliens were going to show up and there was going to be a war between not just one race of aliens, but another race of aliens was going to be using the Earth as a backdrop for this thing. And again, that's stuff that totally gets disavowed after the fact.
Yeah, I don't really remember what he said about that, other than he kind of glossed over it in the interview. on Coast to Coast. He's like, we were all there. Oh yeah, I think it was there was supposed to be the apocalypse was supposed to start in Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, what to me the thing that gets me is the idea that there was a it was going to start around this particular area, and somehow the UFO element gets completely thrown to the wind later. And I think a lot of it comes from just the general, besides the fact that Walters got shown to be almost entirely well, I won't say almost entirely. It's like he was shown to just be a fraud, that he was making up bullshit, and like he was really good with camera tricks and really liked attention. If this happened today, it would be you could imagine the fervor that would surround it, where it's like, oh yeah, six especially now in the what's the word, the age of constant warfare. I mean, the 90s were already kind of locked in on that, but more so now. I mean, like we've got ongoing conflicts all over. The idea that this could happen and then it would more or less be thrown under the rug, where it was sort of like, no, we're not going to get into this. We're just going to drop the charges. You guys get the hell out of here, and one of you write a book or something.
Yeah, which is insane that they all got honorably discharged for going AWOL. Like, that just doesn't happen, especially if you're going to be in like the kind of signals intelligence that they were in.
Oh yeah.
But there's just so much weird shit around this that just doesn't add up. Like, why were they honorably discharged? Like, when me and Steve said when they got arrested in Florida, they gave them like a list of, or no, they had already given the Army a list of their predictions before they left. And he claims that they spent like 30 some days in jail, and then it was either George W. Bush or Bob Dole that got them out of jail.
Now I have to wonder, the only question I'd have about that is, I know the Bushes are kind of notable for a certain level of what's the word, Christian fervor, of framing the stuff in the Middle East as holy wars and stuff like that. I'm wondering if there's this idea of like, no, maybe they know what they're talking.
The weird side is, I mean, they both have like a history with like intelligence communities, and then these are intelligence people. So maybe some of the info that they had like were actual hits. So they're like, well, this is just information. It's nothing that we can really charge them for, or we'll just use it and call it a day and just let you guys go.
That's the question. It would be like the list that is published in Vance's book Unbroken Promises. It's very much this scattershot of insane shit that could possibly happen, and I'm curious. I'd have to pull some dates up to see if any of these actually possibly happened. But one of the things they predicted was the unification of Germany, which like that's a hit. But
I mean, is that really like? I don't know.
You should have seen the writing on the wall for that one.
It's kind of just waiting for the USSR to fall, right?
One of the ones that they did not get was last pope elected by 1996. So, sad trumpet noises for that one.
I mean, we wouldn't have had an American pope, so I'd be disappointment.
Earthquakes seem to get mentioned quite a bit. There's the very first prediction is Russian earthquake kills over 1,000. Didn't happen. And then next one, earthquake will occur in Iran. Over 300,000 will be injured and killed.
Some of these are kind of hard because he's saying they got them before they happened, but published it after some of these events happened. So
youngest president since Kennedy to be elected in 1992.
Because that was what, Clinton?
Yeah. So that didn't work.
Or was he the youngest president since Kennedy?
Hold on. Wait.
Kennedy was 43 when he took office. And yeah, no, he was right. Youngest since Kennedy. He was 46. So yeah, I guess that's right. But when did he publish this?
I think like 94, 95.
95.
So after he was elected.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah, he's predicting the past.
And then some of them were just vague, where it's like gun laws passed. So, okay.
Well, that the bump stocks did get banned, I guess, kind of. So good for you.
Riots in major cities caused by by monetary, food, and racial tensions.
Well, what else do they happen for?
Soccer.
You know what? Facts.
Constitution suspended for 90 days. That didn't happen.
Just ignored for significantly longer.
I'm sure someone would tie that to COVID.
Right, yeah.
It was lockdown.
Yeah.
We had to put masks on.
Yeah, something.
One of them was, and this is, I feel like this is worth mentioning, a false rapture will take place. Now, if something told you that a false rapture was going to take place, and then something said, no, rapture's going to go, you need to go to Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed going through that is there's just so much stuff in this where it seems like they're working against themselves. Like whatever they're talking to is just kind of giving them the runaround. The lady they talked to in Germany, they went to her because she was a channeler for Ashtar.
Huh?
Ashtar of like the Ashtar command.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, Ashtar was first mentioned by that, I forget his fucking name, the guy who lived under Big Rock in California. And he came out of like the I Am movement stuff.
Wait, George Van Tassel, right?
Yes, George Van Tassel. So they went to this channeler. This is probably channeling Saint Germain.
Yeah. But meanwhile, you're getting like because there's like just shy of 100 different predictions that got, and that presumably the list that he's publishing the book is the list that they left for
Superiors
for the
or whatever.
Superiors, yeah.
He claims they left him over like 50,000 documents or something, but only like a third of it has been released by the U.S. government. He claimed a whole lot of shit.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem too. Is like this.
Yeah.
This very much seems to be the case of a bunch of people got some wackadoo ideas and ran off with, and just completely ran off with it and did something crazy. And then meanwhile, somebody sees like dollar signs at the end. Is like, wait, I can parlay this into something. And it makes you have to wonder, in groups like this, there's always going to be the person who is kind of taking charge, or at least sort of pushing the weirder ideas. And I'm wondering if that was him throughout this, if this was a case of like, I know what they mean, and I'm writing down all the predictions and all of this stuff. And he's like, nah, guys, we really got to go. And then meanwhile, there's just some of these predictions are just things like people kept under watch by Social Security numbers.
Okay.
Sure. All right.
It's called your credit score.
Yeah. Your FICO. And then like New World Order will be the new religion, which we're back to Hulk Hogan, I guess.
NWO style for life. This is the sort of stuff that if it wasn't attached to like the spooky, like the spooks, as it were, the intelligence officers, you would just say it's like, oh yeah, these are just like weirdos coming up with weird shit. That's what they do,
Yeah.
But it's the fact that it's associated with 6 people that were part of military intelligence that we have to kind of start scratching our heads being like, well, what the hell is going on here? What the fuck is this?
Yeah. Like when I was looking into this, I just went in, would just refresh my memory, and then was like, okay, this kind of reminds me of like the Humo flap from Spain, like back in the 60s, because it's like almost the same thing with like them receiving transmissions and stuff, but it was framed all in a biblical lens, and then Humo, it was all scientific. And then the more I looked into that, it just kind of fell apart, and it just seems kind of like that. And I did that for a few different things, like, well, it looks like this, wonder if there's anything close to that. Not really. And then I started looking at like, oh, maybe this is a psyop against the government, just like fucking around like they like to do. And I don't think it's that, just because why?
Right. Like, it doesn't seem to have any it doesn't have any real import as like a psyop even. It doesn't,
they're not contactee people. They're not in that scene.
Yeah, no.
So it's affecting no one.
Right. Like, there's the theory that I've kind of thought about, like the thing that would make the most sense is that this group was like building a cover so they could go sell like information or something, or, you know, give information to like foreign governments or something. But even that just seems incredibly unlikely given that they got honorable discharges and no one wanted to, like, they didn't go
push
after
it
them.
further. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a really weird part about it. And then also, like, Vance Davis, shortly after he got honorably discharged, he moved to Albuquerque, which is home of Kirtland Air Force Base, where Richard Doty was at the time.
Really?
Yes. But he was Air Force intelligence. So, I mean, in the 90s, they really wouldn't have been a crossover. It's just one of those another fucking weird things about it.
Yeah. It's like a lot of this has, he said, it's kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of weird fucking, like, you know, I don't know what the word, ufology, and I don't know what the term I'm looking for here is, but, you know, the alien transmissions or the parapsychological phenomena type areas, and there's just lots of weird little connections here and there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any cohesive whole in the slightest. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no real narrative you can come up with that makes this like a compelling story. It's because that's ultimately, it's not even really a compelling story. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, like I was talking to my wife about it and kind of explaining what I was going through, and I described it to her as like, it feels like the JFK assassination of contactee events. Like, just every finger is in this fucking pie, but why and how?
Right.
And
exactly.
at least with the JFK, it's like something happened. Instead, this was just 6 people that pissed off for
Nothing
a
happened.
minute.
Yeah, they just didn't go to work.
Yeah, nothing happened. Yeah.
But it leads you. It's a story that seems interesting because there's, besides like I said, the list of predictions that you can read through and just kind of go, well, that didn't happen, and then wait, that kind of happened, and then no. But it's also that thing of, this is such a common element in all of these kinds of stories. Whenever somebody starts getting weird predictions from these non-human intelligences, there's almost this element of you're being fucked with.
Oh yeah, it's always there with these non-human intelligences. Kill was saying in Eighth Tower that you just read, like, they always want to fuck with people.
It's very rare that they'll give you something and there's always just enough that you might go, there's something going on. But instead, they usually send you off to look like a crazy person.
Yeah.
There's almost the argument of like, if there was something, it was like, all right, we're going to give you some information and then we're going to make you look really stupid so that no one believes any of the things that you were correct about.
Except, like, what were they correct about?
Clinton.
I don't know. Apparently there was some stuff they got right. Apparently, according to Vance. So, but once I started making like all the connections of just like, it's weird and it's like a weird gobbledygook soup of weirdness, I looked at like words I kept seeing, about 40 to 50 of them, and looked up their values in NAEQ. Just to see.
Okay. All right. We got the new Aeon English Qabbalah. Let's see what we got. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I ran that list, and then I got back, let's see, 1, 2, 6. So I got back 12 words that matched each other. So I got 6 sets of matches out of that, and then just looked at those off of their values. So that was Augsburg and Pensacola matched at 94. So they were trained in Pensacola. They were stationed in Augsburg. Those matched at 94. And then Escape and Bibles matched at 95. Antichrist, Revelation, and Chris Perlock all matched at 143. Cryptologic and End of the World matched at 153. Bible Study and Corey Station matched at 157. And then Second Coming and Spirit Board matched at 159. And then with just in the ordering them and numerical value, it gets really fucking weird. Because just some of the matches, like for 94, you get Cometh, Depart, Hands Upon, West 4, Wall In. So just in that, they're departing for the West. Just with Augsburg and Pensacola, and they left Augsburg, went back to Pensacola before they went down to Gulf Breeze.
Wiggy.
Yeah, and then on 95, Holy Place and None Shall and To Each and Cometha. So they could be comething to a holy place like they thought they were to witness the end of the world, and Gulf Breeze. And then for 143, that was the Antichrist and Revelation. And they don't really match, but in context with the other numbers, like, I think the hits are more meaningful. Like on 143, there's Let the Fools. So Reason is a Lie.
Ah, of course.
Worshipper. And then like for like 153, And So Shall Ye Come, Are of Us They, Consciousness, For Behold Thou, My Rapture, Let the Fools But, and They Shall Call Thee. And then 157, this hit was really fucking funny, I thought. So with 157, those were what words again? Bible study in Corey Station. The first match you get is All This in a Book. So they go through all this experience and a book is wrote.
There's
my
and there's weird stuff, like, just not mentioned, like, what's funny about that is, like, this is the same type of down the rabbit hole weird stuff that leads people to do crap like this,
to leave to go AWOL and go back to Gulf Breeze.
Yep. And then and then I can't remember if we mentioned this or not, but there was the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, right? They had a conference that was going on the day that they're reported missing, right?
Yes.
And it's not clear if any of them actually went there, but you know who did go there? Anna Foster, the woman that they end up at her house. She actually showed up.
Yeah.
Shit. It's just it's this weird, like, it's just this God, it's a rat king. It's one of those things of just all these little tales knotted up together.
Yeah, which makes me think it fucking happened.
You think, like, you have this
I
vibe.
think their story's true. That's the reality I choose anyway.
When I hear stories like this, I think it's very easy to go, oh yeah, these are just some nutters, or these were just or worse, yeah, like these people are making shit up, blah blah blah. It's like, it's very easy, especially when we're talking about Ed Walters, where they found his little UFO model in the attic after he moved out of his house. You think, yeah, these are all hucksters, but I think with weird stuff like this, there's these kernels, there's this little trail of breadcrumbs that goes like, these people were getting pointed by something. And I think maybe even if it's just the idea that when you start fucking around with these weird spiritual experiences, right, and you start inviting things in to tell you things, to give you information, there is this real possibility that there is something, whether it is it's the Ouija board goblins, or it's the weird it's John Keel's super spectrum that wants to just fuck with your head. But I have this, you get this idea that what these people did, they didn't just drop everything and go back to Gulf Breeze and desert their post because they were having a giggle or whatever. It's like they had all worked themselves into a fervor of an experience of something that told them, no, this is very serious,
Yeah. It's just so crazy.
Stories like this to me are so, they're interesting because of the way in which weird things land together that don't make any rational explanation. And at the same time, like we said, nothing happened. If there was if there was so much as a UFO sighting when they came, or like something odd happened, it'd be one thing. But instead, it was, what was the incident? These guys got arrested, and there were headlines calling them cultists.
Yeah, and like that's all that really happened, and not even really like a slap on the wrist. They got honorably discharged.
Yeah, they got told to go on. And I haven't really been able to find anything about what happened to the rest of them. Like, Vance obviously wrote a book and made a big deal about the rest of it, and in his way tried to retcon what they were on about. saying, after the fact, Davis is going, that's ridiculous. Why would we show up? Why would Jesus show up in a flying saucer? That sort of thing. But meanwhile, there's too much that hangs together in this weird wheelhouse of ufology and the weird future predictions that just very much screams something odd was going on, and there's not really any answers. You're just sort of like,
and you're just not gonna get an answer either. I think that's the part of these sort of stories that really gets to us. There is no satisfactory answer, because even if how many of them are still alive at this point?
I have no clue.
But even if one of them got close to, they're getting up in years and they're like, all right, fine, I got to come clean. And they were like, yeah, it was, we were moving coke. We stole a bunch of coke and we had to come up with a ridiculous story to sell it. You know what I mean? Or, military secrets that they were selling, or that oh yeah, we were all on a bunch of drugs and we had a big thing and then we got thrown out of the military afterwards. No amount of rational explanation will satisfy this story, because there's too much going on. There's too many little weird things that just don't add up. And even if you manage to get every single one of them kind of pinned down in some sort of way, you'd still just look at it and go, I don't know though. It's a little weird. It's a little weird to be so tidy.
Yeah.
And the pathology surrounding mass psychosis is one thing, but it's also the idea that this was spurred on by something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they had to have been getting enough actionable intelligence for them being military intelligence officers to actually want to act upon it. So I can only imagine how trippy it was for them. If any of it actually did happen.
You're just going to have to learn to live with the ambiguity. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It sucks. I don't want to live with the ambiguity. I want to know.
It's always interesting to imagine that there are indeed always people like this. You're listening to a podcast that is three people that are more or less kind of like the Gulf Breeze 6, and that we've had kooky experiences. We
didn't show up to work.
Yeah. we had weird things telling us stuff that, weird predictions or pieces of information that we had no rational way of getting. And the way in which that without proper discernment, or perhaps just sometimes cowardice, you don't drop everything and go running off. But it's interesting, the idea that this is one of many stories that is examples of people contacting something, and even if the idea is simply the collective psyche that they were all walking around with as intelligence officers during a strange period of American history and world history, that they were able to tap into something that spurred them on to actions that, when they were questioned, they could not really offer any good explanations, So much so that Vance spends the years and years afterwards sort of ad hoc rationalizing them and coming up with ways to make it seem less bonkers than it was. For me, I think it was very interesting, because the day that I told Dee Dee, hey, have you ever heard of this? And I was like, I think we could have you on the show to talk about it. I reached out to another person in the Discord who I will not name, and basically it had come up where they lived, and you know where they lived? Gulf Breeze, Florida. And then I said, oh man, I was just talking about this, and they said I had never heard of that. I'm like, you live there. So that's always if nothing else, the weird ways in which we poetically dwell, as Heidegger said, that there may not be rational explanations for these things, but there are definitely ways in which we piece all of this information together in ways that seem quite spooky.
Shot in the dark. Y'all want to go to Gulf Breeze?
Yeah, sure. We'll rent a van. It'll be cool.
Heck yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'll bring the Ouija board.
It's just some Mai Tais.
Well, with all of that, now it's time for the lovely little palate cleanser of the show. How goes the work? Dee Dee, you are the guest, so it is customary to ask you, how goes the work?
It's going. Nothing I can really talk about other than still need to do serious.
Oh, you're gonna do it, motherfucker. Because
But-
if not, you're gonna you're gonna wake up in the middle of Gulf Breeze and be like, "Oh shit."
Well, I'm thinking of incorporating it into a rededication thing.
Oh
and
yeah, that's
seeing if I could, get some serious forces to aid me in something else.
Yeah. We can't talk about the rededication thing, but I'm definitely down for that. The minute you mentioned it, I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely something that needs to happen, especially with other weird, spooky things happening in my life right now that I'm not going to talk about until afterwards. But yeah, it could definitely use some of that. You got anything just like spooky fun that you got going on?
Spooky fun. Not really, other than I quit my job.
I mean, quitting your job is pretty fucking fun.
That was pretty fun.
See, you
But
should
yeah,
have just
nothing
not
real
shown
spooky.
up and gone to, I don't know.
Gulf Breeze.
Yeah, damn it. I was going to say, I don't know, like maybe somewhere in Florida. I don't know.
Or Mount Shasta.
Mount Shasta. It's always good to hear you going off about your shit a little bit. I mean, you're someone that's got a very interesting practice from my perspective. We're very different people, which is why I do enjoy getting to have you on and hearing your thoughts on things. It's good
Well,
shit.
thank you.
Co-host, how goes the work for you?
I'm trying to think of things that I could say that like, oh, I did this and it worked. That kind of thing. Mostly I've been exploring the body work stuff a little bit more, and that I talked about on the last episode of finding those spontaneous motions that happen with certain altered states and seeing like the way in which the movements can reinvigorate those mental states. And it's been good for a lot of things like focus and fatigue, but that's essentially meditational stuff. It's not really hard up like spooky woo woo stuff. I have been doing the serious invocation stuff, and that's been cool. There's been some interesting things. It's, for me at least, it's neat when you call something up and it tells you something about you that maybe you didn't know, or like it in the way that if you've ever been talking to somebody and they point something out about you that you are too immersed in yourself to notice, where it's like, you do that, or like it's like when someone points out a tick you have and you're like, now you're super self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
It's like I had one of those things happen, which was kind of neat, but it wasn't in a bad way. More about like, it said, hey, do you notice that you gravitate towards this particular type of mythological symbolism? Do you think that might have something to do with, and this is very Freudian, where it's like, do you might think that might have something to do with your childhood? What was your mother like? That sort of thing. But it was cool. It's I briefly said at the opening discussion, this is kind of magic for kicks. This is entertainment, or of just seeing like, ooh, weird stuff can happen. So, but that in and of itself is fun. A lot of times you can turn it into mysticism of, oh, I got these deep insights, but sometimes you need to just appreciate it as the strangeness for strangeness sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't done it yet and it's still dog days, you can go to the Chaos Magic News Discord and you can get a hold of the Serious Invocation, and you too can talk to spooky intelligences from beyond the stars.
Maybe.
Just don't go to Gulf Breeze, I guess.
Or do actually.
Could work out for you. You could get a book out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you do is you get some paper plates and some styrofoam, and you get it together, and
fishing line.
Yeah, and some fishing line, and then all you need is like a mirror. So you got to, the trick is you need to catch the reflection of the model rather than the model itself, because the obscuring and refraction from the reflection is going to hide the fact that you made this out of your grandma's leftovers and some fishing twine.
If only someone had told Ed Wood.
So yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Cool beans. Yep. No one's going to ask me, huh? Okay, fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, it's
Well,
fine.
no,
No one
no,
gives a shit. It's fine. Whatever. I don't want to talk about
So
my
how
practice
goes the
anyway.
work for you?
No, I gave my good story at the beginning so we could talk about apports and so on. Yeah, I'm not doing anything fantastic right now. I'm doing my usual practices, and I'm still playing around with that deck that I've created with Benny, and that's good. It's working. So that's great. We're just gonna see how far we get with it, and when we get to the point that this is gonna be this is finally a solid, fully formed deck and can be mass produced to make $5s of dollars. Yeah, so, nothing crazy other than, stuff magically disappearing and reappearing. Maybe.
Well, just the norm.
Yeah, nothing crazy. I've also been doing serious, obviously. I'll share my thoughts here because I was talking to Brooke about it. What I think is interesting about the serious working, having done it for several years now, is just how it is like the quintessential sort of coyote Robert Anton Wilson Discordian experience for people. I really do think that the serious ritual is you get out of it what you've already got going on. I don't think anyone necessarily goes into it with something 100% specific in mind. Like maybe you want to try to do something with it. Maybe you just want to talk to the dogs hanging out in the dog star. What I always find people end up talking about is deeply personal reflections that they end up getting out of this. And oftentimes it does come through with the sort of thing that co-host was talking about, where it is something that you don't realize about yourself. I'm thinking about someone else in the Discord that had quite a profound experience with it today, and someone that had a quite profound experience about it a couple days ago. What really is interesting about it is that it is very much what Robert Anton Wilson's experience with it was. It is very much what Philip K. Dick's experience with Valis was. It's something that, while maybe incomprehensible and strange and as confounding as the Gulf Breeze 6, what we tend to find in it is something that resonates with what we are, who we are, and what's going on with us. And it'd be really easy to just say, oh yeah, because it's just your psychology, which, yeah, of course it is. What's interesting about it to me is that it doesn't seem to not work once you realize the trick. The weird things keep happening. I still get 23s out the fucking ass every goddamn time Sirius comes around. I still get weird little experiences that I don't quite understand what's going on. I still end up finding new connections to Moby Dick years later. And yeah, it's just if you are someone that, you're not in the Discord, or if you're someone that's in the Discord and you haven't actually done it, maybe you're one of those people in the Discord that doesn't do a whole lot of magic. You might be. I don't know. But if you are, give it a shot. Just take it. It's a simple ritual. You just read some stuff and you say some stuff and you trace some lines and you imagine some stuff. You ain't got to do nothing crazy. There's not a whole lot of things that I've made that I genuinely think, oh yeah, anybody can do this and it'll work. But I think this is one of them. I think this has got the weirdness in it just enough that, anybody could just grab this thing and do something with it. And we had the Inko in the Discord do a nice little reformatting of it to make it easy to read and easy to work with. So you got no excuse not to, Dee.
No habla.
Okay. Well, with all of that said,
this has been Chaos Magic News, the only podcast that is possibly just a spiritual entity kind of sort of fucking with you. If you too would like another reason to go to Florida, you could go to chaosmagicnews.com where you'll find more links to the pod, the occasional article for your perusal, and all of those other kinds of things. If you would like to follow us on social media where you can find some spicy memes, we are on Instagram and Facebook at Chaos Magic News. We are on Blue Sky at CMN Pod. We also have a Discord, as we've mentioned multiple times. You can come rub elbows with nice people like Dee Dee, and you can bug us about how crazy we are, and then you think we're wrong about all these things that we're talking about or whatever. Or you can figure out how to talk to aliens with the Serious Invocation. We've also got a merch store on Threadless where you can, well, I'll put it this way. If you are spooky and you wear clothes, you have no reason to not give us a crisp $5 worth of profit on these on them here t-shirts and whatnot. What else? Oh, and if you have listened to this and you really enjoy it and you want to figure out how you can support us in a more direct way, for $5 a month, you can support us on Patreon, where you will get access to exclusive bonus content. We are currently going through Liber Null as sort of a revisiting the foundational chaos magic text. We've got cool people that haven't read it ever, people that have read it before, giving different levels of involvement and experience, just giving our 2 cents about it. It's a fun time. We also do little watch along stuff. We have a thing going on, a watch along for Overlords of the UFO. So if you aren't tired of hearing us talk about aliens, you could check that out. Uri Geller's in it. He bends keys. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Our friend Coco apports in and out of it several times.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And also, if you support us on Patreon, you get a heartfelt thanks from us right here.
Thank you, Liz, I guess. Thank you, Cios93. Thank you, Hope Loki Sater the 23rd, LLC. Thank you, Obsbleck. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Curse T. Thank you, Fyodor Krasny. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Silver Scion. Thank you, Tremov. Thank you, Tanky Darling. Thank you, DD Destruction. Thank you, Toziel Obscurus. Thank you, Lavender Ghost. Thank you, Tommy Kelly. Thank you, Clodius. Thank you, Cyrenix Flux. Thank you, Eric the Wizard. Thank you, Marcio Mendoza. Thank you, Archaic. Thank you, Sneaky Llama. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Melius. Thank you, Coffin Emoji, Sparkle Emoji. Thank you, Mother of Hysteria. Thank you, me. Thank you, Inko. Thank you, Eamon Nux. Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Lapsod. Thank you, Flint Dibble. Thank you, Helicon. Thank you, Endocrine Bandit. Thank you, Ayatollah AGP93. Thank you, Aramel. Thank you, Salab. Thank you, J. Eric Murphy. Thank you, Serena St. Sinclair. Thank you, Agatha, not Agatha. Thank you, Massachusetts Tank. Thank you, The Dark Star. Thank you, Member. Thank you, Natalie Jones. And thank you, Charles. And that list just goes on and on and on. Dee Dee, you're on it. Thank you.
Damn it. Keep forgetting to cancel that.
Aww. This always happens.
But no, for real. And even if you don't support us on Patreon, the fact that you comment, that you like the videos or whatever, that you leave reviews, the fact that you've just listened to this far, I mean, really, thank you so much. Your support really means the most.
Yeah, it is. It is undeniably the most humbling experience we've ever had in our lives.
Except for you, Steve. Fuck you, Steve.
Yeah,
fuck
you know what?
Steve.
Fuck Steve. There's some poor person named Steve out there who's really upset. Now I feel bad.
I'm sorry,
That's because
Steve.
he's a fucker.
You know how...
If he wasn't a fucker, he wouldn't feel bad.
You know what? You got a point. Dee Dee, your Catholicism is showing. If you weren't bad, you wouldn't feel bad.
It's learned trauma.
Okay, well, with all of that said, Dee Dee, would you like the last word?
Sure.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much for listening, everybody.
We will see you next time.
Bye-bye. I mean, and look at you now. You're
unemployed.
Unemployed on some podcast talking about magic. Sounds like I'm winning.
Sounds like an American success story.